What's going on, folks, and welcome to Stu's Garage. Today we're going to be installing this. So this device right here is what some people call a swirl pot or a swirl tank or a radiator surge tank. This is not an overflow tank. What this is a device that basically continuously bleeds your radiator system while it's operating. So, you know, if you suck at bleeding your radiator or, you know, through the course of normal usage, you get air trapped in your system, this device right here actually increases the efficiency of your radiator. So you would use one of these in a situation where you may have size constraints on your radiator. You have to run something smaller, so you need a more efficient radiator. Some people run a slanted radiator. It looks really cool, and you need to do that for space reasons as well. If your radiator is lower than pretty much the highest point in your cooling system to where it's not going to vent properly, you'll use one of these. So there's a lot of reasons you want to have one of these. This is going to be more of an LS specific install. You can install this on any motor, but you're going to have to tap into your water jacket. The LS already comes like this, so that's why I'm putting this on. Otherwise, I personally would never ever drill and tap into my heads, but I'm not everybody. Some people would do that. So anyways, I know my videos can get kind of long and lengthy because I'm showing you all the steps to installation and fabrication and everything. I'm just going to cut to the chase on this one. If you already know what this is and you're looking for how to install this, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you the ports right here. So this top port here is going to go, it's going to feed into your regular overflow, and that's my overflow tank right there. Then you're going to see that there's two ports here. One's kind of straight in and one is angled. The one that has more of an angle, I mean, you can't really tell. I don't really think it matters that much, but the one that has more of an angle on it is actually going to come out of your radiator. So your regular overflow out of your radiator is going to go into this one here. And also, when you come out from this line here, this is the only part that I'm not 100% sure about, but as you can see, your radiator cap has a spring in it, which normally when the pressure builds up, the spring compresses and it allows fluid to flow out of here. So I believe that you actually need to bypass the spring by either removing this lower sealer right here or cutting your spring, but you need to basically bypass that sort of valve, that pressure valve, because this cap right here actually has a spring in it, and this becomes your new radiator cap. This is pressurized and you don't ever remove this again. And this right here is going to go to your steam vent, which like I said, if you don't have an LS or a motor that has a steam vent, you're going to have to drill into your water jacket. And this bottom portion right here, you can feed this bottom portion to somewhere in your intake tube. So on the LS, it's down here. You can do the lower radiator tube. You can do the intake tube from your heater core, as long as it's feeding into your radiator, because this bottom tube is where the actual coolant is going to be draining out of the swirl pot, and you're going to want that to go into your motor. So it needs to fill into something that's actually sucking your coolant in. So that's pretty much the gist of it. So as for now, we're pretty much going to get into the fabrication and install part of it. So as you can see, you know, these things are pointed all crazy directions. You got to figure out a good place to put this and position this so that your lines are basically going to have good clearance, because you don't want your engine bay looking like cobwebs because you got lines and wires and stuff going everywhere. I think that this piece is actually designed to come, you know, sit pretty much all the way at the front near your driver's side. That way all of your ports are pointed towards the engine. But then I've also got a port that's pointed away from my radiator. You know, I've played around with all different positions of this thing. For me, I think I'm gonna position this right here at an angle, just because, like I said, I've been doing a lot of looking and deciding how I want to do this, and I think this is a good position for me to put this in right here. Also, with this swirl tank, you absolutely need this to be the highest point in your cooling system in order for it to function properly. Alright folks, so here's a look at the bracket that we've just created for the swirl pot, which is over here. And we're going to go ahead and throw this in the engine bay just so you can see how it looks. And so basically that's going to sit there just like that. And the two bolts that are on the back of here, which I can't show you because I'm using both my hands right now, it's just going to sit right in there. So actually, let's go ahead and throw the bolt in there. Alright, so we went ahead and slapped the bolt in there to hold this thing in so that we can do a final mock-up. And the tank is going to sit on here just like so. And that's the position it's going to be in. And with it being here, that's going to allow it to be the highest point in the cooling system. It gives all of these tubes and ports access to go where they need to go. And that's pretty much it. But you know, nothing is complete in this engine bay without a coat of gold paint. So let's go ahead and paint this thing up, and then we'll go ahead and get this thing plumbed up. Alright, so we've got everything plumbed up so far. Again, this top line here is your overflow line. That's your new overflow line, and that's going to go to your overflow tank. This is probably not going to be my final position of this overflow tank. In fact, I may end up making another one. I have a DIY on how you can make your overflow tank and exactly what that does. I'll post a link to that in the description. But as of now, this is just a temporary mock-up location. I think I'm going to end up making myself another overflow tank. And this is just basically going to be your regular overflow tank that you would normally have. This line here is coming to your radiator overflow. So this would normally go to your overflow tank, but now the coolant is going to flow out of the radiator into the swirl pot. It's also going to flow out of your engine into the swirl pot, and it's going to flow out of the swirl pot into your overflow. And then down here, this is going to go to you could put this to the intake of your heater hose, and right now I can't remember which one of those are. The person whose setup I'm going by actually has this line plumbed to his lower radiator hose, and I'm just going to copy his setup exactly. Alright, so I just came from the parts store, and basically what I did is I just went in the back and I looked at all of their radiator hoses that they had, all their pre-bent hoses. Instead of buying a custom hose, I'm going to make my own because I have a couple of special requirements for this, which you'll see in just a second. But this shaped hose right here is almost dead on for what I need. What I'm going to end up doing is making a cut in it right about here. I'm going to cut about 6 or 7 inches out of it here, and then take this 90-degree bend and reposition that so that it goes straight up towards here. And then after this portion here, I'm going to add a section that's going to have an inlet, and that's what these are for. So I'm actually going to use these to actually make couplers out of also. So I know they sell couplers and everything, but they were pretty hard to find. I figured I'd just use this section of pipe that I have, and so that's going to be the radiator hose. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and start cutting and fitting, and you guys will see what I come up with. Alright, so I just cut my radiator hose in half, and I realized something cool. So what I was going to do is I was going to remove this section right here, but I can actually take this and flip it up this way, and that's going to reach up towards the water pump. So that's actually going to cut out a lot of work that I had planned on doing, and you'll see how this thing's going to fit together in just a minute. And the way that I'll be connecting these hoses back together is I've just got a pipe of the same diameter. Fit this into here just like so. Fit the other end into here just like so. Throw a little bit of couplers on them. I may come back and actually put some adhesive on the inside, like some silicone or something. But for now, while I'm test fitting it, this is good just how it is. So let's go ahead and throw this in the car for a test fit and see how it looks. Alright, so as you can see, the radiator hose actually meets up just the way we have it right now. The only thing is, I'm going to have to add one piece in, which I'll show you guys in just a second. And that's going to be the port for this tube right here to connect to. And I'm probably going to have it to connect right here. So by the time I add that port in, this thing's going to be absolutely perfect. So let's go ahead and do that. And there's a look at the hose, all sealed up. So let's go ahead and work on putting that second section in. Alright, so while we wait for these new coupled hoses to dry, this is the upper hose. I didn't show you guys making that one. We're going to go ahead and work on this coupler now. And the thing about this coupler is this is going to be used to basically splice this line in from the swirl pot. So what I have for this is I was actually getting ready to go to the store and buy some tubing, some metal tubing, and I ended up actually cutting this off of my old fuel line, and this is actually the perfect size. This is exactly what I need. So you know, since I'm feeling pretty good right now, I'm gonna actually attempt to weld this into this pipe, and that's gonna give me the port that I need to come off of that. Alright, so we've got our splice tube, or whatever you want to call this coupler. We've got it all welded up, and honestly, can't say that's too bad myself. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to throw this into this tube, and then we're going to throw it back into the car to see how everything lines up. Alright, so we got everything put together. This is more or less of a finished product. I believe that these things will hold as is, but I'm going to put couplers on them just to be safe. I'm going to put 2 couplers on each splice, and I've got this whole kit from Harbor Freight, and none of these things are actually large enough to go over that, so I have to go get more clamps. Alright folks, check it out. We finally got everything installed now. This is the way that it's going to be. So if I haven't already done it enough times, just to go over the setup once again. The flow of coolant is going to be, you're going to get vapor and coolant coming out of your motor here. You're going to get your overflow from your radiator flowing into the pot from here. Obviously, you're going to fill your pot from the top. When the pot drains, it's going to drain downwards. It's going to get sucked into your lower radiator hose because this is the sucking hose. And when it overflows due to pressure, it's going to flow out through your overflow here. Your pressure cap is going to be here, which is going to allow the fluid to overflow from here and go to your overflow tank, which I don't have at this time, but we're going to have that later on. Also got my intake all situated, so that's pretty much how it works, folks. So hope you got something out of this video, and stay tuned for the next install.